All right. I think we've got most everybody connected. So thanks again for joining us today. I'm excited to take you on a brand new look of the all new Collaboration Center. There's some great new functions that have been added, great new features, and I think the overall look has been wonderfully redone so it's even easier for our clients to use. So if I haven't got to meet you before, my name is Colleen DeLang. I am the Director of Education here at My Real Source and a licensed realtor for the last 25 years. Kind of makes me feel old when I say it like that. But I love the new enhancements in this product, so I'm excited to show them to you today. So, really, what is the Collaboration Center? If you're brand new to the Collaboration Center, this is a great way that you can stay connected to your clients. It's a great way that they can immediately get new notifications anytime a listing hits the market that matches their criteria. You can even set up a very advanced search. And there are situations too where maybe I want to preview the listing even before it goes out to my client. So we're going to show you those great enhancements too. What you see on your screen at this point is our data sharing map. So remember, when you're using the Collaboration Center, no matter where your clients are, they're going to get those new those new listings delivered. We now have 97% of the state in our data sharing efforts, which pretty much means when you're setting up your clients, they can see more listings than they can in any other MLS, and they can pretty much see listings now coast to coast. I'm also going to show you in the new Collaboration Center, one of the things I struggle with as an agent is I want to give them more information as their trusted agent than they can find out on Realtor.com or Zillow or other IDX or syndication sites. Collaboration Center allows you to do just that. So let's go ahead and take a look. I am going to show you, I'm going to kind of teach this class backwards. I kind of want to show you the finished product. I want to show you what the Collaboration Center looks like. And then I'm going to take you on a hands-on tour of exactly how to set it up for your clients. So hopefully that's okay. Also, remember that we try to keep this as interactive as possible. So anytime you have a question, there is a questions box in your GoToWebinar panel. Probably at this point minimized over at the right-hand side of your screen, or it may be minimized at the bottom of your computer in a little blue flower. So if for any reason you have a question or you just need to see something again, feel free to use that questions box. Simply type it in. It'll allow Brian and myself to see that question, and then we can go ahead and answer it for you. All right, let me switch over here. I've also attached some handouts. As an agent myself, I know that we aren't setting people up in the Collab Center every single day. And sometimes you just want a cheat sheet or a reference to go back to. So also in your GoToWebinar panel, you'll find there are 4 cheat sheets. The cheat sheets kind of look like this. Let me show you what they look like. They're step-by-step guides, and you can actually download them. But the whole idea is that you have a reference after this class. So if you don't add anybody into the Collab Center, let's say for a month or two, you can go back and use this cheat sheet to kind of just make sure as you're following along with the steps. In addition to that, we try to record all of our classes here at My Real Source. And this allows us to post them generally in 24 hours from when you take the class. So this exact class will be posted, and it will have the all new Collaboration Center, and it will also have today's date. So if for any reason you have to step away, hopefully to bottom line an offer or something exciting like that, you can always go back to this class recording and see that too. Let me show you where you're going to find those class recordings. So what we've done is in Paragon, trying to keep everything in one easy spot, if you go to your resources, which is again like your agent toolbox, that's really where all your great tools are, you will find a whole section dedicated to just education. So if you're looking for this recorded class, all you'll do is click on recorded webinars, and that will take you right to our YouTube channel. The easiest way to find our classes is click on videos. And as I mentioned, it'll have the class name as well as the date of the class. And you can fast forward to whatever part you may have missed. We also have a lot of new exciting classes coming out, things like Roadmap to Success, our successful photography classes. If you're looking to sign up for future classes or you just want to see what new classes are available, you can also go back to resources right under that same area for education, and you'll see our education corner. This is an online digital catalog where you can see all of the upcoming classes, and I did just update all of this, so it has the new classes for the next quarter. But whether it's Cloud CMA, or whether it is Transaction Desk and Authentisign, or Lisa, my best friend, teaches an amazing public records class that's coming up, or you just need help maybe putting in listings, or you're looking to take better photos, or you want to use Kubacasa, the new floor plan app that allows you to very quickly and easily create a floor plan as well as measure entire rooms. You can do all of that. And all you need to do to sign up is click register here. And then it will take you to where you can register for that particular webinar. So just a couple of housekeeping things as we go ahead and get started. So I want to show you this, as I mentioned, kind of backwards. I want to show you the finished product, what your clients are going to see, because of course that's most important, right? We want it to be user-friendly. We want it to be easy. So when you are creating the Collaboration Center, it's as easy as creating a saved search in the MLS. And again, I'm going to walk you through this from A to Z. Simply turning on the Collab Center, and now your clients will get those new notifications. So it's basically a saved search. You're marrying to a client and turning it on, and now it's going to allow you to send those immediate notifications without you having to go into the MLS every day and do those repetitive searches. One of the things I like so much about the new Collaboration Center is, one, it's very user-friendly for our clients. I also like that I'm able to give them more information than they can find on IDX and syndication sites. But I also like that it allows me to stay in immediate communication with them. If they change or modify the search I set up for them, I get an immediate notification as the agent. If they add a search, which they can do, they can go in and do their own searches with their fingertip. If they add a search, it also notifies me. So maybe they've looked around, they're starting to realize not a lot of inventory out there, and they think, you know what, maybe we're going to have to increase our price range a little. If they make that adjustment to their search, it notifies me, the agent, so I can make sure that I know exactly what they're looking for, even if their needs change a little bit in this low inventory market. So when your client downloads this app, the Collaboration Center, and by the way, it is a full app now. They can actually download it from the App Store, the Google Play Store, or you can just send them the welcome, which will also give them the ability to download it right from the welcome. Again, I'll walk you through that in just a moment. The nice thing about this app, though, is let's say that they download the app, they start using the app, and for whatever reason, maybe 6 months go by, maybe a year goes by, maybe that agent is no longer even in the business, and they now want to have you represent them. They want you to be their trusted agent. You have what we call an activation code, which can be sent to them when you set it up, or it can be added even after, so it can connect the two of you. So even if they may have previously worked with someone else, that activation code allows them to be connected to you, so you see everything and can really fully collaborate, hence the name, the Collaboration Center, but you can fully collaborate with them. What I love most about this is it's so simple on the agent side. I can literally be standing at the grocery store, talking to my client, talking to somebody I met at the checkout, and say, maybe Sally says, you know what, I think we're starting to look again. I know we were going to look, and, then some time went by, but maybe you could help us look for a 3-bedroom home with 2 baths in ABC city. You can literally be standing there and set up that search right in Paragon on your phone as the agent. They can immediately get that new welcome while they're standing next to you. And that way you can literally work on the go. Really, you can work from wherever you happen to be. So let me kind of show you again. I'm going to do this backwards. We're going to look at the product first, and then I'll go in and show you step by step how to create this for your clients. When the client has the app, they're going to get these new notifications. So it's going to pop up. If they're interested in that particular home, they're simply going to click in, and this is where they can see all of the details of the home. Of course, they can view every single photo, they can blow it up. They can go to see everything on a gallery style view on their phone if that's what they're looking for. But I'm getting all of those MLS details right here. Everything from the MLS is coming over. I'm going to go ahead and hit show more so I can see all of those details. But remember how I said that I want to be able to give the clients more through this than they can find on other IDX sites. So I'm going to actually grab this one here. Let's say that my client is very interested in this Paradise Court. They can click on favorite, which actually immediately alerts me as the agent. So I get that notification that my client is interested in this property. They're going to click into Paradise Court, and they're, of course, going to start reviewing the information. But what I love is they can go through the comments, they can go through the details from the MLS, which they could see anywhere, right? But they can also see things like the seller's disclosure, the lead-based paint disclosure. If it's a condo, they can see things like bylaws and rules and regs. So anything that the agents are attaching into associated documents, your clients can now see those when they're reviewing those homes. Do you know how nice it is when agents put the rules and regs or bylaws in when, especially if it's a condo, so we know, can they have multiple pets? Can they have, cats or dogs in this particular complex? What is the homeowner association fee? It's really nice when all of those things, not only are you telling them, but it's really nice when they can view them for themselves too. All right, so I'm going to scroll down a little further. There, of course, is the property history that they can review. They can see when it was listed. They can see, if the listing was removed for a while, they can see that under the property history too. But if the client is saying, you know what, I really want to keep my payments around $1,000 a month, there's also a mortgage payment calculator, so they can go in and adjust the information. Probably going to have to adjust that interest rate too, sorry to say. But they can also view community details too. So all of this can be done right here. But that's not even my favorite part. My favorite part is that if that client goes in and let's say they favorite that listing, they're really excited about seeing this particular listing. Generally what happens now is I need to call that client and I'm going to have to say, well, when are you and Mr. Schmagegi available to see it? You know what usually happens? They say, you know what, I got to call Mr. Schmagegi. Let me find out when he's available to see it and we'll call you back. By the time they call back, the property's pending. Happens all the time, right? So I tell my clients to favorite the listing because I immediately get that notification, but there's also request a showing. Now, let me just clarify. This does not create the showing appointment. This only tells you, the agent, that, hey, they're available to see. And I tell them, quite honestly, in the comments, put a couple of times and dates so that I know when they're available, and it eliminates the need for me to call them every single time that a new property comes to me that they want to see. So one, I tell them to favorite it. Then I immediately get that notification. Two, if they put a time and date in here, I know when to start setting up those showings. I know when they're going to be available. So it eliminates some of that time. And let's face it, time is really important. Things seem to be listed and pended so quickly. The last thing we want to have to do is wait a day to schedule those appointments. So really easy ways for them to see the information and, again, fully collaborate with you. Right up here at the top, when they're viewing the properties, they can, of course, favorite them, as I mentioned. They can say, I'm not interested in this particular property. They can flag as a possible. So a lot that they can do. But one of the new features that they've added is they can also tag listings, which I really like. So you can tag a listing with a particular feature. Like you can see I've set up 3-car garage, or maybe they're looking, they want to tag things that it had more acreage. This allows me to kind of keep track of properties. So if, let's say you have a husband and wife sitting down there trying to figure out, which properties, which are we most interested in? They can actually use this tagging feature to see all the ones that had a 3-car garage, or all the ones that maybe had a little more acreage that they looked at. So they can sort of keep track of those listings. All right, so let me jump back over here for just a moment. Of course, they can do a map view to see it on a map. But if they want to tour the neighborhood, especially maybe, maybe it's a couple hours away, maybe they want to see the neighborhood before they drive all that way, it allows them to also use that Google Street View so that they can walk down the street. They can check out the neighborhood. As you can see, this happens to be a condo we're looking at right here, but it allows me to be able to see the properties on the left, properties on the right. And so they can do this at their convenience. After I leave this particular listing, so I'm looking at the main view. And of course, these are new matches that were just delivered to the client. But let's say they wanted to look at a few of these. Maybe they're interested in these three particular properties. And they kind of, they're interested in seeing, they kind of want to stack them up side by side and compare them. So there is a little button right up here at the top where they can literally compare all of the fields of these listings. So they can not only compare the price, but the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage. If it has more acreage, they can go through and sort of stack them up side by side. Maybe they kind of want to drive by these particular properties before scheduling any showings. They can even create turn-by-turn driving directions with this little road map up here. Basically creates a Google map for them, and it shows them on the map, of course, where all of these listings are located. And then right from here, maybe they just want to share these listings. Maybe they want to send them to someone in their family. Maybe they're looking at buying a house with someone else. They want to text them over. You can send it via link, or maybe you just want to send it out on Messenger and Facebook. You can do that as well. So really easy ways for them to flag homes as favorites. They can, again, choose the possible. Maybe they're just not ready to start looking at that one yet. They're going to put it, kind of watch it and see if the price goes down. They can reject a property. They can ask questions. So those questions come directly to you. And that way, if they have a question on, well, isn't this where they had some flooding last year or something like that? That can go directly to you as well. So I think it's a very user-friendly layout. Again, I think that people, when they click in, it's that user-friendly experience that they are looking for, right? It's very simple. It's very clean looking. All of the details are in one spot. And again, I can even see more now, like the associated docs, especially if you're showing condos. That is really nice because they can see all of that information in one place. All right, so from here, I'm going to jump back. One of the other things that I like is right under this hamburger stack, they can go in and do their own property search. Now you can set up their initial property search, as I mentioned. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. But the nice thing is, once you do that, if they change anything, again, you get that notification. But let's say that they, they're looking around, there's no inventory in the area that they're looking, they're going to expand their search. Maybe they're going to look at a subdivision just up here. They can literally go in and create their own search and look in areas. But again, the nice thing is, as the agent, I can see all of that. So let me kind of flip this around, kind of showed you what it looks like on the client side. But the client can actually use this as a full-on mobile app. So I actually went right to a client that I'd set up previously, and I just click on view. That allows me to see everything that that client is seeing. They have a dashboard just like this. And if they want it, let's say they're standing in front of a listing and they want all the details for that listing. They're on their phone. They simply can click this little near me and it will bring them right to where they are. So if they are looking for if they are looking for information on that specific property, I can go in, I can click on it, and it's going to bring me right to that particular section. Sorry, it took a second for that to open. It'll bring me right to actually where I am, so I can see that particular listing. They, right from here, can also do this. There's a little Google man here too, so I can go in, I can set him in front of a particular area. Again, kind of checking out the neighborhoods even before I drive all the way over there. So the idea is everything's in one convenient place. They can go over here to the hamburger stack, as I mentioned. So not only do they have their own dashboard, They can organize things. Again, they can ask questions. They can see all of the tags that were set up and the listings that they've tagged with those different, like the 3-car garage, or this one happened to be acreage. I can immediately pull open those listings that I've created the tag for. That way it helps them organize it. Because let's face it, when they're looking at, multiple homes, they sort of forget, well, did that one have the more acreage? Did that one have the attached garage? So it's a little bit easier when they can sort of organize them so they can jump right back to those tags and see homes with that particular feature. For me on the agent side, let me show you some of the things that I like about the app. One, if you have partners, or if you have a husband and wife team, or if you have a husband and wife and you have maybe investors and they want to share the same site, you can absolutely do that. And I'll show you exactly how to do that when we're setting up our clients. I like the fact that I can go in and I can actually see when I added the client. So let's look over here. I added that particular client on 8/12, or I added that particular client in February. I can see when they last logged in. So I can see when they actually logged in and started to review properties. I can also see, so this person logged in yesterday. So Zoe, who's been looking for a while, kind of in the St. Clair Shores area, she logged in yesterday. She got her last notification yesterday. I can see how many favorites she has. I can see if she rejected anything. I can see all of that from here. You'll also notice this approve all. And what this is, true life story. I swear in real estate, you can't make this up, right? I had a really wonderful closing with one of those clients that just becomes your friend through the transaction, right? And we're sitting there and closing up, and she's so excited, and just a gem of a person, just one of the nicest people I ever met. And she said, my sister is starting to look, and I just passed along your contact information. I thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. Assuming the sister would be as sweet as she was. Not so much. They were kind of polar opposites, to be exact. But the second call I got from the sister, I swear, went just like this. She said, Colleen, if you send me one more yellow-sided home, I am going to fire you and get another agent. And first of all, she had never mentioned before that she did not like yellow siding. Second of all, there is no button in the MLS that says remove all yellow-sided houses. I assure you, if it was there, I would know. So in this case, I realized she was going to be a little bit more challenging of a buyer. So what I did is I set up the agent preview. The agent preview sends everything to you, the agent, first. So I can go in and I can see all of those listings, and I can check them out and make sure there's no yellow siding. So I can go in, I can see, oh yeah, this one has yellow siding. Don't send this one. So I can go in and I can simply check off the ones I want to go automatically to her by hitting the approve. If there is one with yellow siding, like we see here, I can select it and disapprove it, meaning it's not going to go to that client at all. But it gives me the ability to see them first, just to make sure, especially if you have a challenging buyer, we all get them, right? It's a way that you can go back and you can sort of approve them and see them first, just to make sure they're not getting properties that they wouldn't be interested in. If you want to approve all, you can simply hit approve all, and they're going to go right to the client at that point. All right. I like, again, that I can see their basically their window in, right? I can see their collaboration center. If I want to see exactly what they're looking at, I can click view and I can go right into their specific collab center. I can see what they like. Again, I get the notifications for what they like. I can see new matches, price changes, just like they can. But I love that this is now a fully functioning mobile app. And I love that they can, again, by clicking that near me, it will home them in exactly where they're looking. So if they're driving around looking at listings and they're looking for the details, but the difference is when they're getting those listings, they're working with you. They're connected to you. They're seeing your contact information. And that's certainly the way that we want it. Again, they can ask questions from here, but basically that hamburger stack over here at the top left gives them the ability to do all that quickly and easily. So that's kind of a tour of some of the new enhancements that are there. Again, one of my favorite features is that it also makes it much easier for us as agents. I don't have to go into a special tool. I don't have to do anything except go into Paragon and view my contacts. So let me show you. Right here under your contact section, you're simply going to click View or Manage My Contacts. This is where all of the collab centers are. If I need to change something about a particular client, I can do all of that from here. So let's say I did need to go in and edit something. Maybe it's a husband and wife and the spouse wants to be on all the notifications too. You can click on that contact, and then right over here to the left, this is where you can change and add information. So if I go into contact information, I can see that this client is active. Now, one of the things I tell people is when you're in here and let's say the client purchases, okay, so they bought their house, and a lot of them still kind of like to get the notifications around where they live. They actually have a tool now for that. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. But the idea here is if they've purchased and they don't want to get the notifications, you don't want to delete them as a client because you want to have them in there for your Christmas card mailers. You want to have them in there when you're doing, just friendly reminders, or you're sending out your calendars for Christmas or your Christmas cards. You can actually create mailing labels right from here that you can actually do that. I also recommend when you're setting up the Collab Center, one of the things you might want to do is create custom groups. You want to have some CRM options. Now, I don't want to lead you on and tell you this is like the greatest CRM that there. It's not. It's not really meant to do drip campaigns or things like that. However, what it does do is it allows you to organize where these leads are coming from. So as you can see under groups here, my son goes to a little private school here in Richmond. And so I do the sponsorships for a lot of the things, and I'll, create the custom water bottles that my good friend Dawn showed me how to do with the labels with my contact information. But sometimes I want to know, is there any return on my investment? So you can actually create groups, and you could do that. This is a seller or a buyer. And maybe I'm going to make this buyer, and I'm going to say this came from Jake's school SOI. Or maybe you've got a referral group, or maybe you've joined a brag group and you want to have that right in your group so you can keep track of where those leads come from. You can actually do that here. You can easily add groups. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. It's also where you'll find things like reverse prospecting. But if I go over here, this is where I can add in that additional person to get those notifications. So if I have a spouse name and a spouse email, I can say, yeah, I want the notifications to go to that person. Down below, there's even more information you can add about that particular client. But this is where you're basically adding client information or adding additional people in. Jump over here for just a moment. If you are on the selling side and the buying side. So let me kind of explain. If Mary on our call today, if she has their house listed and they're also going out to see properties with Mary, she's probably going to want to set them up with seller activity too. And what that means is she can associate their listing. So you click Associate Property, and she can pick the listing that she has so that it almost kind of works like listing book, if you remember that. It shows them if there is a new listing that goes up around her listing. It shows if there is a price change on a listing close to her. It will actually show if properties have closed. It basically gives them the sell side comps as well. So they can see, again, new listings, things that have had price changes, things that go back on the market. So not only is it very effective when working with them as a buyer, because they immediately get those new notifications, but it's very effective in sometimes helping get that price change. If they see that things, maybe they had kind of a high idea of what their price was going to be, and they're starting to notice that there's a few what are we calling them? Price improvements. Those price improvements around them, that may be an indication they may have to drop their price slightly. So there's also a seller side of the collaboration center. One of the interesting things too, and this recently happened to me, is a lot of times what the client thinks they're going to purchase is not always what they end up buying, right? And so I had some first time home buyers, and they said to me no less than 30 times, Colleen, we're only going to live in St. Clair Shores. We only want to see houses in St. Clair Shores. We love the parks. We love, the summertime is great on the nautical mile. We're only going to look in St. Clair Shores. And they must have said it at least 30 times. So you know what happened? They didn't buy in St. Clair Shores because that's how real estate works, right? A lot of times they think they are going to end up purchasing in a certain city, but due to low inventory or due sometimes to their price structure, they don't always end up there. So in this exact example, this is a true story. Again, you can't make it up. They said over and over and over again, only going to live in St. Clair Shores. So everything that was coming up in their collab center, I had only set up to be St. Clair Shores. However, my one of my best friends, Dawn Waldrop, listed a house just a few streets outside of St. Clair Shores. We're having breakfast, and she mentioned she's just putting in her new listing today, and she starts describing it, and every bell and whistle went off in my head. Everything she said was, it was like I was listening to them. That, that's why we're the trusted professionals, right? Is a lot of times we know what they're going to buy even before we do. So she's listing this house, but it happens to be 2 streets out of St. Clair Shores. So of course it's not coming up in their automated search. And probably even if it did, they wouldn't have looked at it because they were really set on St. Clair Shores. But sure enough, you can do something called an agent recommended, where you can actually put in a listing that may be outside their exact parameters, but when it popped up in front of them, they agreed to let me show it to them. And sure enough, we wrote it right there at the kitchen sink. And Dawn can attest that we actually closed it 30 days later. So sometimes we as agents need the tools, even though technology is great and it's automated, we also need those tools to be able to go in and do what we do best. A lot of times we know something may interest a client, even if it wasn't exactly what they were looking for. So it's ways to still work and collaborate with that client, even if it's not exactly what they described. Also, when you're setting up your client's search, you don't want to set your clients up multiple times. That's usually the number one question I get. Well, I tried to add the client in here again, and it won't let me. And there's a reason. You want your client to have one collaboration center site, right? You want them to only have one. You don't want them logging into multiple different sites. That would be so confusing. So even if they're looking for, let's say they're looking for either a fixer-upper or vacant land, you can still add more searches in here. You just only want to add that client in the collaboration center one time. You can add in multiple searches. So even if they're looking for different things, maybe they're looking for a vacant land or a fixer-upper, and they're also looking in this one subdivision if anything becomes available. So you can add multiple different searches underneath that client. They can see those, but there's no confusion of which site was that in, or was that in the vacant land site or the single family home site? That would be way too confusing. So that's why you will get an error if you try to add them in more than one time. And that is the reason. You want them to have one easy site where everything is inside that site. That's why you also see the seller activity and buyer activity right in their same account. So when they're logging in, they can see both of those things. Another thing that I really like about the new Collab Center, and you could do this in the older, it was a little bit harder, but I love the message history, because you know what happens. They come to you and they say, well, Mary, why didn't you tell me about 123 Main Street? And you're like, well, you got the notification, and it's in the Collab Center. Well, of course, they didn't see it for whatever reason, right? So you can actually go back into every single home that gets sent to them through the message history. So if they're saying, you know what, I never got that particular home, you can actually show them the time and date that they actually received that new notification, which I love. I find it really helpful mostly when they call you and they say, you know what, you sent us a home with blue and black shutters. You sent us a home with blue and black shutters last week, and we weren't interested in it then. You know, we've been thinking about it. We would like to see that home. You can actually go back and find that particular home, even if they can't find it because they don't remember the address. So the message history, you can even change the dates to see that they said, I got it last week. You could go ahead and change the dates and just see everything that was sent to them last week. So I like that as well, because a lot of times they may get that notification. They may look at it and maybe they didn't think anything about it. And then they drive by, and now that it's springtime, they're like, oh, that is a little nicer than it looked like in the picture. And so lo and behold, now they want to see that one. And you've got to go back and find it, right? So you can actually go right into their site. You can see under message history, you can see all of that right from here. My absolute favorite thing, though, I love that I get the notifications right away, but my favorite thing about the Collaboration Center is that it makes it easier for us, the agents, to get those appointments scheduled quickly. So let me show you this next feature. If you're looking right here, you can see that my client, Mary Rose, actually favorited 9 listings. Okay. And again, if you tell your clients when they're favoriting to put in the time and the dates that they may be available, that is a huge help. So now I'm going to click on that number 9 because I want to show you this next piece. Go back here. I'm going to go out of the client and back into us. The next piece is how easy that it's going to make it on the agent to set up those appointments. I'm going to log back in here for just a second. Sorry, I wanted to show you on the client side there first. On the agent side, remember, we're able to do all of that right from our contacts. So when I'm looking to see, how long have they been in the Collab Center? Are they even using it? Have they signed in recently? I can see all of that right from here. But I also want to be able to schedule those appointments very easily. And I do not want to have to schedule them one by one by one, right? I want to dump them into the showing time cart. So by simply clicking the number, let me show you. So by simply clicking that 9, her 9 favorites, it immediately brought those up. So again, I can see how many favorites are here. If I'm getting those notifications and I want to quickly dump all of those into the showing time cart, I can click on this 9 and it's now bringing up all 9 properties because I want to get those appointments scheduled quickly. So I'm going to say, you know what? I see that this is an ABO. Now, I have a little bit of OCD, so my brain kind of works in a funny order, and I do like to sort these. Here's a quick tip. If you're like me and you want to, if anything's pending already, or you want to, obviously if it was coming soon, can't show those yet, right? So I like to go to the top of the column heading here, and I like to hit sort, or basically just click on it, and it's going to sort. So I now can see, oh, these are 2 ABOs. You know what? That means that there really is an offer that's been signed on those. Yes, they're still allowing them to be shown, but you know what? I'm going to go with the other ones first. A couple of other things you may notice look a little bit different on my screen. I love having the listing agent right in my search results. I did not know for a long time you could do this. And when Brian showed me, I was thrilled because a lot of times, I would say 99% of the time, I get to work with really great agents. And I've been blessed to work with everyone from Flo Abke to Ed Martin to, just, super great agents. And most of the time, I have really great experiences. Of course, there are those 1% of the deals, right, where the agent never calls you back. You've had a bad home inspection. You pretty much handled the whole deal on your back. You know what I mean. And so if I have 9 properties like I do here, not that I would not show one of those agent listings, because I certainly would, especially in this market where there's no inventory, but I got to tell you, I'm probably going to show them at the bottom of the list, not the top. So in this case, I can actually see who has the property listed, and I have their cell phone right in front of me. So again, most of the times, if you've had great closings with, a number of agents, Mary's a great agent. Maybe I know we've done a couple successful deals together, and I want to go ahead and move her to the top of my list. I can see that right on my search results. So how you actually add those custom fields in. And by the way, there are tons of fields you can add in, but that happens to be one I really like to see on every screen, so I know who has the property listed when I'm getting ready to show it. So you can always go up to this little gear that says customize, and you can click on fields. So I'm just going to show you how I added this in, just in case you want to too. I'm going to take this out for just a moment so I can show you how easy it is to put in. So if there's a field you don't like, you can always remove it or move it out of your view. So I'll show you that. So in this case, I want to add the agent name in. So I'm going to go to this group. I'm going to change this to agent. I'm going to say, okay, I want to add the agent name. I'm going to hit add. Now here's my favorite part. You can also drag and drop those fields into any order that you want. So if you are like me and you're constantly scrolling over to get all of the details that you're looking for, stop doing that. What you want to do is simply grab that field and move it into the order that you want it to appear. So in this case, I would probably want this right after MLS number, actually probably after asking price. And now I just drag and drop it into that order. I hit save and it's going to save it in my preferences. So I only have to do that one time and now it's saved in my preferences. And as you can see, I now have the agent name right here. You could do agent name and phone number as I did when we started. You could do agent and email address if you're more a person who likes to email. So really easy to do that. The other thing is, because I have a little OCD, I hate when I have extra listings on the screen and I'm not working with those. So here's another quick tip. Right up here at the top, if you click checked, it'll eliminate those two that you really aren't working with and don't really want to see, right? Now I'm just working with the ones I like. Another quick tip is if there is a field, remember how I said you're always scrolling over to get it? You don't have to do that. You can actually grab the top here and you can move. So maybe I want the address right there. Maybe I even want it before asking price. I could set it there. You can drag and drop those. And as you can see right here, it's saving that in my preferences. So don't be afraid to sort of sort that and make it easier so you're not always scrolling over uselessly to the right, to find that one field you need. And don't be afraid to add a particular field like the agent name just to make it easier to have all of that in one spot. All right, so to kind of recap, because I know I went a little awry with the quick tips, I see that my client has favorited 9 listings. I click on the number 9. I'm now going into those 9 automatically. 2 were ABOs, so now I'm really working with 7. But let me show you another quick tip. Instead of me having to go and schedule on each one of those, which would take far too long, I really want to use what I refer to as the easy button. The easy button allows you to take those 7 selected listings and throw them right into a showing time cart. So let me show you how to do that. You're going to click showing time. I love the showing time carts. You can put in a new buyer, or if you've already got the buyer name in there, you can actually select from there. And I'm going to say I want to show these homes on Friday. Okay, so I'm going to pick my day, going to show Barry buyer. And now it's simply dropping those in the showing time cart for me. So that means I can go ahead and start scheduling. I hate when I'm trying to schedule 1 or 2 appointments by themselves because you end up having to use your map to see where did you want to start, where did you want to stop. It just becomes very cumbersome. Plus, you have to do each thing. And if there's not available times, you can't see that because you can't see the listings next to each other. This takes care of all of that. So what you can see right now is the way that this dropped these things in, you can see that would be a lot of unnecessary driving. So first we're going to fix that. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say, put these in a smart route for me. I don't want to drive from one end of town to the other and then back again, right? That wouldn't make any sense. You could also rearrange them by simply doing the numbers, or maybe you wanted to start with number 7 instead of number 1. Maybe you want to start closer to your home and end up at your office, or vice versa. You can actually even go up here and click on the address and it will sort them the other way for you. Or you can simply update the number or the order that you want. But here's where I really like this. If there are any blackout times or any, if the agent doesn't allow overlapping showings even, this allows me to see that. So you can see that there are 2 times from 8 and 9. There's also a blocked out time from 10 to 11 on this listing. So this allows me to see that. And that way, when I'm scheduling, I can schedule accordingly. I don't have to go back and say, oh, now I got to change this because they're not allowing showings at this particular time. The other thing I really like here is that it tells you right from the beginning, is this a go and show? If I'm running out on my lunch to go show properties, or they're running out on their lunch to show properties, I might not have a lot of time to get all of those confirmations. If we're running out and we scheduled this just 30 minutes ago, I can see this one needs to be confirmed. So I know it's really good to start with these go and shows Instead of having my appointment up here, as you can see, I just drag and drop it into place, by the way, I might want to have my appointments down here so I have longer to get the seller or listing agent to confirm that appointment for me. Another thing it does, and this really is helpful with electronic lock boxes, is you can see how long it's going to take you to get from property A to property B. In this case, it's only 2.5 miles and it's only 5 minutes. But if you're covering a very large area, like some of the people coming in maybe from our vendor MLSs today, if you're covering a great big area, well, if the drive is 45 minutes, you want to make sure you're figuring that into your showings, right? So let's actually kind of walk through this. So if I pick a time, yes, it is reminding you that thanks to the NAR settlement and MLS practice changes, you do and are required to have a buyer representation filled out and signed by that client before showing houses. So that's what that little reminder is. But now I want to just go in and pick my time. So maybe we want to start here at 9:30. About 15 minutes to show a property. I can see there's no blackout time next, so I'm just going to go ahead and schedule that one from 9:45 to 10. It's not going to take me very long to get there. And I can continue going right through my list. It will also tell me on this screen if it's a central lockbox. It will ask me, do I have access to that? And the benefit is I now can see that right from here, and I know, yes, I'm going to need access to that. So the idea is I can now put all of these in very quickly and conveniently. I can send off the requests at one time, and then everything can start to be confirmed. I know with the go and show, I'm going to get those lock boxes immediately so that I can start showing those properties with very little notice. From here, I can also create turn-by-turn directions. So one of the things I like here is how many times do they call you and they say, Mary, what's the second house again? Or, what's that third house on the list that we're going to see? This eliminates all of that because once it's confirmed, I can send that on to the buyer and they can use their phone to literally use Google Maps and see the order that we're seeing all of those homes. But I don't know about you. What usually happens to me right about here is I've got my whole tour all scheduled and they call and they say, Colleen, great news. We just found one more house. And you're thinking, great, could you have told me that 10 minutes ago when I was planning all of this? So you can go back in and add another listing. You can click add a listing stop and put another listing address in. Or let's say John is driving clients in from out of town. They're reload people, and he wants to put the restaurant that they're going to be going to between home 3 and 4. He wants to put that address in so it can be included in the driving instructions or driving directions. You can actually click add another stop and you could put the restaurant address in. This then, when you send those turn-by-turn directions, it's even going to include the restaurant that you're taking them to for lunch. So you can do all of that right through the showing time cards. Again, all I did to create all of this was just clicking on the number of their favorites. And I think that's what makes this so easy. So jump back here for just a second. So I'm going to go back into Paragon. Again, all I did to start that whole showing cart was I'm in my contacts. I got notifications that popped up on my phone that said my client is interested in these properties. I'm going to click on that number 9 and I can use that easy button to throw everything into showing time. All right, let me just pop over here and see if we have any questions real quick. Don't see anything. I think Brian's handling all of those. So that is awesome. Thank you. Okay. From here, let's walk through how we actually set up the Collab Center and how do you handle those situations where you have those clients who have very specific needs. They've told you they don't just want a basement, they want a fully finished basement with a 3-car attached garage. A lot of times those clients have very specific needs. And if you're sending out just stuff with basements and you drag them through, let's say 3 basements in a row and they're not finished, now they're mad at you, right? Like I told you, I only want to see finished basements. So that's where we're going to do a very detailed search and we're going to set it up so that it immediately goes to our clients in the Collab Center. Also, I've had really good luck of getting people, let's face it, buyers today, what's the first thing that comes to their mind when they're searching? They immediately think, oh, I got to see this on Zillow, right? And then they call you and they say, Mary, why didn't you send me this house at 123 Main Street? And then Mary says, well, I just looked up in MLS. It actually closed 45 days ago. Happens all the time, right? The nice thing about the Collab Center is that that doesn't happen because you're using the MLS database. So I've gotten a lot of people off of searching other sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, and others by telling them, you know what? Let me set you up like an agent. I'm going to set you up in the MLS just like an agent so you see things up to the minute. That way, when a new listing comes out, you don't have to worry that you're missing it. And you also don't have to worry if it immediately goes pending, you'll see that right away. If it closes, you'll know that too. There's no outdated information like so many of these other third-party sites. You can also really customize what your Collab Center looks like. So in my Collab Center welcome, I have actually put that in the welcome that gets sent to them. This is the MLS that the agent search. I set you up like an agent so you see the most updated information. A lot of times once they see something on Zillow that they find inaccurate, now they want to see things that are really active. They feel like, that was outdated information. Plus, remember, the Collab Center is allowing you to share even more information than they could see on those sites. So let's go into where you can customize your Collab Center site before we go into actually setting up the saved search. So right under your preferences, the easiest way to set up your site so it has your photo, your branding, tells them all about you, as well as that message that I said, hey, let me set you up like an agent. Let me turn you on to what we use so that you see everything right away. You can do that right under preferences. And this is actually where you went. You probably don't remember if you've been a long time My Real Source member. This is where you actually went to set up all of the details that were in the MLS. You went under this first preference wizard, but this time we're going to go under the Collab Center preferences wizard. This is where you can just walk through this simple wizard just to make sure all of your information is correct. It looks just like you want. So let me kind of give you just the highlights here. So I'm going to hit start. And of course, it's going to show me, my office info. The first one is really agent information, what my office phone number is. Do I want it listed? And of course, it has to be listed. So you'll see that one is checked. Office email address. But down here is where I can add my social media. If I have social media links, like this happens to be my Facebook business page. If you have a Twitter a handle, you can put that in here. If you have a website link that tells them about who you are in the industry, all of these can be tied into your Collab Center page. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit next. The next thing is that welcome message. Remember where I said that I want them to go in and I want them to see all of the details on the homes, but I want them to know that they're looking at it like an agent in the MLS. This is where you can add video links. You can add pictures. You could do a video resume even, but I usually just put in something short and sweet. There is a canned message that if you don't change it, it will still go out. I just like to tell them, hey, this is that account I told you that agents use. I'm setting up just like an agent so you can search the MLS. So that's what's in mine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. This is where you can add even additional links. Some people tell me they put in like greatschools.org so people can check out schools. You can put in different things that talk about like the parks, things like that. Going over to the office information, this is just showing you what's being displayed for your offices. It's just kind of one last way to make sure you've got everything set up. But this is the important one. This is actually on page 6, and this is the notification options. These are your default notifications. So you could change this on an individual basis. If you got one client that's maybe driving you crazy, calling you every 5 minutes on every listing in Michigan, you can change some of these things just for that particular client. But this is actually think of it like your defaults. For me, I do not want to get an email every single time they reject a listing. I do not want to know that. I don't need to know that. We all get bombarded with email already, right? I don't need to know every single listing that gets sent to them. I don't need a special email notification coming to me saying a new listing went out that they didn't even like. It doesn't make any sense. So here's where you can select what you want to be notified on. Of course, if they favorite a listing, I immediately want that notification. So here's my preferences. You could set this up however you want, but I don't want to be notified of every open house. I do not want to be notified of every broker or open tour. I do not need to know that. I don't want to know if they reject a listing. What I do want to know is if they favorite it, if they flag it as a possible. I may have details about a particular house that they flagged as possible that may make them want to see that home. So I want to see possibles, favorite, or anytime they ask a question, if they set up a new search, or if they've modified the search I've set up for them. So if they change their price, I want to know that as the agent. Those are the things I want to be notified on. Client notifications. I want them to see any new listing, any price changes, if it went back on the market. For me, if they didn't like I don't do the initial photo added. You could. Matter of fact, if you're getting some notifications that maybe don't have a photo, or maybe they get a couple of those, you can actually check this, and it allows it to go to the client as soon as that photo gets added. Because let's face it, a buyer today, if there's no photo, they simply go on to the next house generally. You can also notify them if there is an open house. You could do that. And then, so these are just your basic default notifications. What do you want those immediate notifications on? And here's another kind of important one. The next step on step 7, this is your default, what you want them to generally be able to search for and see. For me, I only do pretty much single family homes and a little bit of vacant land. So these other ones were not as important to me. Again, you could change it on a client basis too. But here's what I do want to caution you on, because a lot of people say, well, Colleen, I only select actives. And here's the only problem with that. Yes, when we're setting up our search for our buyers, we're only picking active, right? We're not going to show them what's closed if they're a current buyer looking. It kind of makes sense, right? However, the reason you want to select pending and sold in this market is properties basically are flying off the shelf still. So if we list it and we're not allowing our clients to see pendings, and the property goes pending, when the client goes to click on it in the collapse center, they may think it's broken. The home doesn't appear. So I would really recommend that you select active and at least pending. I actually do active, pending, and sold. And the reason I do that as a default is when they get those notifications, if the agent just listed it, they don't look at it for an hour, they click on it and they've had 11 showings already and they're marking it pending. I don't want them to see a blank screen. I want them to see, oh, the home is pending already, so that they know that. So for me, I like those all 3 to be selected, and that way they don't click on it and get a bunch of blank screens. Again, you can change that on the client basis, but I think that's really important, because otherwise if they get 4 or 5 that go pending right away, when they click on it and they see nothing comes up, then they think it's broken and they think, oh, well, nothing's coming up on these homes. Then they call you and they say, I don't think this is working, right? So I do let them see everything. And that way, if it goes pending very quickly, they still see that home's information. And then last, if you'd like to add things like, I don't have any of these, just to be totally honest, you can add things like Zestimates, easy values, kind of valuation models. I don't, but that is how you set up your preferences. It's that simple. It's a little wizard that's literally going to walk you through to add your photo, add your contact information, as well as your office logo. Okay, so how do we set this up and turn it on? And a lot of people will call me. I probably get 1 call a week, and they'll say, well, Colleen, you said agent toolboxes is where we find everything. Our resources is where we're finding everything. So why don't I see Collaboration Center in there? And there's a really good reason. The Collaboration Center is really just the MLS Sage search that you've set up. The only difference here is you've married it to a contact that you want to immediately get the notification. So it's really, I'm going in, I'm doing a Sage search just as you would if you were looking yourself for a client. The only difference is you want to marry it to who it's going to go out. Who's that contact record that I want to get those notifications? So let's actually do that. We're going to start a brand new search. We're just going to go up here to our search. By the way, under search, this is where you can find saved property searches. You can find everything to your inventory, to upcoming tours, to hot sheets. A hot sheet, by the way, if you don't know, is just where you can see things that may be expired. A lot of people like to call expireds. Hot sheets are where you can see price changes, things that have gone back on market. A lot of my friends who do call expireds, they love the auto hot sheet, and I'll tell you why. You're probably thinking, well, hot sheet and auto hot sheet, what the heck are the differences? Well, a hot sheet is again any change, a price change, a new listing, changed status. The reason people like this auto hot sheet is it actually remembers the last time you used the hot sheet, and it shows you everything from that point forward. And so if you log in, let's say you're really good about calling expireds and you log in, then a couple days go by, you haven't logged in, it will tell you, it'll remember when you last logged in. So I can see the last time I actually logged into the auto hot sheet. So that's the only difference. But a lot of people will say, hey, what is that? So let's go in and let's set up our search. So we're going to go search by class, and we're going to say that this particular buyer is looking for a single family home. If you're kind of new to Paragon, remember, if you don't know what goes into a particular field, you can always use the magnifying glasses to the right, and it will show you exactly what that field is looking for. So in this case, they're asking me, is the client looking for a condo, a farm, or a single family home? So I'm going to say, okay, we're looking for a single family home. I've also added some fields, so you might see some additional fields, kind of that same concept I showed you before, where you can add in particular fields. I was recently teaching in Detroit, and they said, you know what, Detroit is so big, we've got to have a way to search by zip code. So for them, that was really important. There are hundreds upon hundreds of fields you can add in to make your searching even easier. But in this case, I'll show you a couple more little quick tips here. In this case, we're going to say that this buyer is looking in Sterling Heights. So all I have to do is start typing in the word Sterling Heights, and I can quickly see that. What's very interesting, and especially if you're coming in from one of our vendored MLSs, I kind of want to show you this because in my mind, and I clearly got this wrong, in my mind, for one state, there would be one city. Let me show you what I mean. When I started typing in Clinton, I was shocked to find out that there were multiple Clintons in the state of Michigan. I guess I thought Clinton, there are actually 5 Clintons in the state of Michigan, which kind of is shocking to me. How do you know which of those Clintons that you're looking at is the one you're looking for? Because let's face it, if you pick the wrong one, your clients are going to get properties in Clinton in the UP and not in Macomb County like I intended. So let me show you a little quick tip. When you start typing in, you can see that there are multiple Clintons and Clinton townships. And if you go down to county here and you type in the county that you're looking for, so I'm going to say I'm looking for the Clinton Township in Macomb County. Now when I start typing in, I only see the one in Macomb County. Here's another quick tip though. And I promise I'm going somewhere with this. It'll make sense in just a second. If you are, let's say I'm going to use Mary because she's so sweet. She's a great decorator too. So nice to see your name today on the call, Mary. Mary is working with an investor, and he is looking in multiple counties. He's looking in Macomb County, he's looking in Oakland County, and he likes all of those areas, but he's got a handful of cities he doesn't care for. It would be very time consuming to go in and start typing in each one of the 63 cities in Oakland County minus the 3 or 4 he didn't want, right? And you could do it by map, but if you're doing multiple counties, that can be hard too. So let me show you a quick tip that I did not know, and I wish I would have known years ago. When you go to that area field that you're looking at right here, there is a magnifying glass next to that area field. So let's say Mary's investor said, Mary, I want to see everything, all the cities in Macomb County, except I don't care for Fraser or Centerline because I might have to get city certs there. Mary can go and change this to begins with that county identifier. So we saw, kind of back up here, when we went to county and we typed in Macomb County, we saw that started with a 50. That's actually a federal identification number. So I now want to see all the cities in that county. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that area field. I'm going to again click on that magnifying glass and I'm going to say, I want to see everything that begins with 50. Now, guess what? I just brought up the 26 cities. I'm going to change this to 50 so I can see them all. I can see every city in that county. So let's again use that example. Mary, he tells Mary, hey, Mary, I want to see everything, but I don't want to deal with city search. So just don't show me anything in Fraser. Don't show me anything in Centerline. I'll take everything else. I literally can add in all the cities in that county, minus those 2 or 3, very quickly. You could also do Macomb County, and you could exclude certain cities. But I find that's even easier because then I can actually eyeball. Because sometimes they'll say, well, we like these areas, and you kind of know where they're talking about as the agent, right? And you know what cities you want to go through, but maybe there's a lot of them. It's just a really easy way to go in and search, and especially for multiple counties. You can do the same thing. So I could put Oakland County and see all 63 of the cities in Oakland, and now I could go through and pick the ones that I want very easily. So just a quick tip there. But in this case, we're going to make it even simpler. We're just going to say that this client is looking in Sterling Heights. I'm now going to put in, maybe they're looking between 3 and 500,000. I'm going to go down here. Now I'm going to start adding in what they're looking for. So maybe they've said, you know what, we don't want to do stairs again. We're looking for a ranch style home. I can go to that style type here, or that structure style, and I can do 1 story. Maybe we know they need a minimum of 3 bedrooms. If they get more bedrooms, they're okay with that. I'm not going to put in a max. I'm just going to put that they need a minimum of 3. Maybe they're looking for at least 2 baths. So I'm going to put in 2. And yeah, they've said that they're looking for a basement, but they've been really very adamant that they have to have a finished basement. And yes, they want a garage, but they want a 2-car garage and they want it to be attached. How do you add those extra levels of detail? So let me show you that next. When you're talking about extra level of details, that's under features. So if a finished basement is really important to them, you can go to that first must-have field, and you could type in finished basement, or you could just type in finished, and I can immediately select that it must have that in order to go on to the client. Features work like this: must have, must not have, don't want to see anything that has that, or must have at least one of these items for it to go to my client. So a good example, another true story, can't make it up, I swear. I recently listed a house in Lenox, and the house, I kid you not, the fence in the backyard was at the end of the landfill. So literally, it's this giant landfill in Lenox. If you're not from Lenox, it's got a huge landfill, and it basically, where the roll off of the landfill, if you will, when it rained, where the roll off was their backyard. Okay, so the fence was right at the edge of the dump, basically. 4 houses down was where the shooting range started. So it was not the most desirable property in the whole wide world, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Yeah, if you can sell a property that literally is on the dump, the end of the dump hill, and 4 houses down from where the shooting range starts, you're doing really good. So, but in this particular case, this husband and wife were getting divorced, and it was kind of sad. And the husband had stated that the septic field was he stated that it was 2 years old, it was new, and it was in great shape. It was actually not new, it was 27 years old. And unfortunately, he had put a swimming pool on top of it. And if you know anything about septic fields, you know that is not a good idea, because what had happened was, not only was it old and leaking, but now he crushed the septic field by putting all of the weight of the swimming pool on top of it. So it's really getting bad. So you have this non-desirable area where most people aren't going to be looking. And with that, we now have a septic field that's literally bubbling up into the dirt. That made it a little less desirable. So all in all, We found out right before closing, because Macomb County is a pass and fail septic area, which means it has to be tested before it can be closed. We found out that it was going to cost $17,000 to put in a new raised engineered septic field. So that definitely was a swing in the seller's net out, let me tell you. So for this particular woman, when she went to find her new home, she said, Colleen, don't show me anything on a septic. I'm never going to maintain a septic. I don't ever want to hear the word septic again. So totally got it. So for her search, we made sure that it didn't have any septic. So septic, of course, is a required field in the MLS. So I put in septic. She then received nothing that was on a home where she would have to maintain a septic. So again, must have, if they're looking for something, they have to have it or they don't want to see it, like attached garage, finished basement. If there's something they absolutely don't want, maybe they don't want the maintenance of a pool. They don't want to see anything with a swimming pool. I could put in pool here as well. Must have at least one or more. This is great if you have a client who maybe has a home business and maybe they either need a pole barn or an oversized outbuilding. You could do it as long as it has one of those, it's going to go over to the client. But for me, I get a little confused at there's all different names of what these things could be, right? So the easiest thing to do is click the magnifying glass to the right, and it will categorize all of these features for you. So again, if I'm looking for a finished basement, I go right to the basement type, and I can select must have a finished basement. If it is let's use the garage example. If it's an attached garage, that's very important to them. You can go to must have under the garage types. Some other really good examples, if you have a client who maybe wants to purchase on land contract terms, he only wants to see things that the sellers are going to take land contract terms on. You could say must have land contract terms selected. Some other good examples were water features. If your client has a boat and he doesn't care if he just wants to be able to tie up his boat at his house and get out to the lake. Maybe he doesn't care if he has canal frontage, lake frontage, or river access. As long as he has one of those, then that house is going to work for him. So it's a way that you can go in and take that search and basically take it up a notch to make sure it's hitting all of the features that your clients have said that they have to have. So I've got some basics in here now. And of course, some of the other things to keep in mind is a lot of times clients aren't just searching in a particular city anymore. So let's go into our map search. Let's say that they're also interested in maybe a particular neighborhood in another city. So I'm going to quickly go into our map searching here. By the way, your map will generally open up to your office address. However, you can change that in your preferences. But let's say they want to live 5 minutes from where they work, or maybe 5 miles from where they work. You can even type in an address in this little box that I'm typing in here. And you can make that the center of your map. So I'm going to say this is their work address. They want to live 5 miles from there. You can even search a radius. You could add a radius. So let's say, I'm just going to search one just to keep it small enough to see here. Maybe they're looking in this particular area. I can go ahead and see your radius. I can see that home right over here to the left. If you see these clusters, it just means that the flags were pretty close together. So again, you can even, as you zoom in, you'll see it breaks apart, or you can click on that cluster and it will actually just allow you to go through them one by one over here. Maybe you kind of want to see the neighborhood for yourself. Again, you have this little yellow Google Man over here. I can go ahead and I can set it in front of a particular neighborhood. So like, remember, your clients can do this in the collab center too. So maybe if I just want to check out the neighborhood, see, is it larger lots? Are they, smaller lots? I can actually walk through the neighborhood right from here too. I love that. I think it's very helpful. Just jump back here for just a second. And one of the other things, maybe your clients want to live 5 miles from work, but there's this one little area that they don't care for. Or let's say maybe their mother-in-law lives in that particular subdivision and they don't want to be quite so close. You can go over here to the drawing tools. I can say, you know what, we really like this whole area, but this is the subdivision my mother-in-law lives in, and we don't want to be quite that close. I would like to exclude that particular area. So you can actually draw a shape on a shape, go up to edit, and change it from includes to excludes. Now I've excluded that particular area. So really easy to do that too. One of the other things too, when you're setting up buyers, there are these great layers that you can add. If you have a buyer who says, you know what, Mary, I really don't want to pay flood insurance. Can we stay away from areas where they might require flood insurance? Mary can say, sure. So you can click on the layers. I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit here. And she can apply the floodplains. It literally will layer areas that she would maybe need to avoid, or maybe you just want to make sure you ask the question, do I need flood insurance here? But it will show me that. Maybe this was a really great example that my good friend Flo Abke just brought up the other day when she called me. It was such a good example. I said, you know, I'm gonna show people this. She was working with a volunteer firefighter in a particularly kind of rural area. And she said, Colleen, I have a problem. I'm searching on the map. I'm setting up my buyer for the Collab Center, but he has to be within the parameters of that city. And I can't tell where the city starts and stops on this map. How, if I set him up, am I ensuring that he for sure is going to be able to maintain his volunteer firefighter position in that city? Because he has to live within the city boundaries. So I thought, wow, that's a really good example. So she drew her search and it covered multiple cities. She knew the area he wanted to live, but we had to hone it in to that exactly where he needed to stay for work. So she applied the municipality, and you can even apply the labels to label what it would be. So on that here, I'm going to take this little, I'm going to take my radius off just so you can kind of see it even better. So she had drawn out the search, but she wanted to make sure that he was staying within the city that he was a volunteer firefighter for. It wasn't Sterling Heights, but I'm just using this as an example, so humor me. So we're going to go in, but you can even blow it up further so you can see the exact streets where the lines start and stop. So exactly where she would have to be inside of. And you can also change this from a road to an aerial view so you can get a really like a bird's eye view of the actual street that search would need to start and stop on. So I thought that was a really good example. So all of these can be done right under this layers area. If your buyer, kind of go back to our general here, I'll take some of this off so it's not quite so distracting. If your buyer wants to see, you know what, is this an area with larger lot lines? Maybe they've said, you know, Mary, we like to have a little space. We really don't want to be right on top of our neighbors. Does this particular sub offer a little bit larger lots? Again, going back to that layers area, there are all different types of layers, but you can also add parcel lines right here. And this even allows you to see things that haven't been listed. So you can even see lot lines for properties that haven't been listed over here. Zoom in a little bit. But you can see this obviously would be more smaller lots. As you can see, it's only 60 by 129. So it allows you to even zoom in and see that level of detail, even on properties that haven't been listed yet. So I like the mapping. I think you can do a lot with it. Okay, so we've got, just for the sake of not having a lot of inventory today, we've got all of our buyers criteria in here, right? We've got Sterling Heights, we've got their price range, we've got the features that they're looking for. How do we turn on, the last step is how do we turn on the Collab Center? So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to where it says it's just like saving a search. Remember I told you? So we're going to go to Save Search As. Now I want to go in and I want to give my search a name in case I want to change it. I want to be able to open it and edit it later on. Maybe I want to add things to it. So I'm going to say this is Mary M's search. The last piece is, remember I told you it's just a saved search that you're marrying to your contact record. So I'm going to go over here to contact. If I had my contact already in Paragon, I could use this little magnifying glass to find them. I'm going to say I want to add a brand new contact. So we're going to call this Mary M. And I'm going to put in Mary's email address. Mary M at mailinator.com. And I'm going to save it. That's how easy it is to get everything ready. So now I want to send them a notification. I want them to see that little message that says, hey, I set you up like an agent in the MLS. So you see everything right up to the minute. So now I'm going to hit save and notify. A couple cool things when you're setting this up. You can also even set up, let's say Mary's working with that investor again, and because he's looking in multiple counties, he's getting these notifications every few seconds. And he's like, you know what, Mary, I'm getting so many of these. It's kind of distracting. Can you just send them to me once a week? Mary can go into the options and she can say, sure, let's send it to you once a week on Monday at 9 a.m. So when you're sitting at your desk, you just see everything that came on. Now, in this market, I wouldn't so much recommend it because there's not that much inventory, but maybe you want a report that is going to come to you every Monday of what your clients got over the last week. Or maybe you do it twice a week. Maybe you check in on Wednesday and you want another one to come. So you can actually pick the times that maybe you want to see what got sent out to your client. I'm going to be honest, I can see all that in the history. So generally, I don't do that. But you can set yourself up to be CC'd on the emails that go out. And you can also get that report of everything that got sent to your client. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got her email address in here. I'm going to leave everything immediate because there's not really enough inventory at this point. And all I'm going to do is hit send the welcome. This will contain your custom welcome. Again, there is a canned message unless you change it. You can click preview to see exactly what's going to be in your welcome, but you do want to do that in your preferences even before you're setting these clients up. Now your client is set up, and now we can see everything that Mary's getting. So I can see the 25 houses that were sent to her that matched her criteria. Again, this is where I could also, we kind of went through this at the beginning, but this is also where I could add on a secondary person who she might want to get the notifications. I could recommend a property that maybe didn't fall in her exact search criteria. And I can go ahead and even create contact groups so I can manage these contacts as they go into the MLS. So one last thing is remember that clients can be connected to you. Now, when you send out that welcome, it does connect them to you. They get the invitation to download the Collab Center right from their App Store or their Google Play Store. It has all the information they need. However, if you are working with someone, let's say that was previously working with another agent, they're no longer working with that agent, they now want to be connected to you, you can click this app invite code and you can actually send that to them. That's the way they can be connected to you after the fact. Again, if you're setting them up brand new, when they're getting their welcome, they're going to have all of that right in the welcome and download information. However, if it's a client who previously had worked with someone else, this is a way that you can still connect to them. All right, so if you have any questions, now is a great time to throw those in the questions box. And let me just remind you that this will be recorded. I'll get this updated and uploaded tomorrow in the resources education area. So if you joined us late, remember you can find this exact class. All you have to do is go to resources, recorded webinars. That will take you right to our YouTube channel where you can click on videos and you can see all of our classes. I don't know if there's any other questions. Let me take a quick look here. Oh, really good question. Thank you, Mary, for your question. Thank you for being my example today, too. Not only are you a good decorator, but you're really on the questions. Will clients currently set up in the Collab Center get this updated version automatically, or do I have to set? Nope. The good news is they will see it automatically. So there's nothing that you have to do or update on their end. So when they go in, they will see that dashboard now, but it will just have that new user-friendly look. So you don't have to worry about giving them anything additional, or you don't have to worry about the app code or anything like that. That's all done behind the scenes, so that there's nothing on your end that you have to worry about. But very good question. All right, so let's see what else. I think that is the last question I see, unless I missed any, Brian. Um, oh, thank you so much, Barb. Nice to see that you're here again. Thank you. Yes, I know that is a good question. So I think that's the last of the questions that I see. So I want to thank you so much for going through the new Collaboration Center. Remember, we do have support available not only for my Real Source members, but all of our vendored MLSs who might be joining. You can reach out to them 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And most of them are real life working realtors, so they'll be able to answer your questions, and they use the products, and that makes such a difference. You're not transferred to another technology company. We do it in-house, and we want you to be able to speak to people who actually use the tools so that they can give you not only assistance, but sometimes can give you some shortcuts or help as well in resolving your issues. But I think that is all the questions I see. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. Happy selling. Go list some stuff because we certainly need the inventory, and happy selling, everybody.